Apologies ahead of time. This first little bit of audio is a little choppy because I had my headphones on, but after this first audio clip, it gets better. Hey guys, so this is my video of how I play Eternity's Reach, and I just realized I have my aligners in, but we're just gonna go with it. So I entered the arena, and what I'm doing right now is I'm scanning the map for a good place to teleport because where I spawned in isn't really good, especially because my farm is such a low level. So I'm looking around the map right now, and usually what I look for is mines kind of in a circle, so that if I teleport near them, there's a mine like within 10 seconds of a march. And then I'm also looking for a spot that doesn't have a lot of other competition around me. So, like, that's a pretty good spot, and you can see I took a screenshot of that because I wanted to make note of it for sharing with you guys later. So that's a good area. This is another good area, so there's a nice little bubble of mines all around. Ideally, through the whole Eternity's Reach, I try to constantly attack mines that still have the Cesari's guards in them, so that the copper that scatters on the ground, I can be looting them, and so I'm utilizing every avenue of copper collection constantly throughout the whole thing. So you can see I'm still scanning around, and I'm not really seeing anything else particularly good. I think somewhere around here I kind of saw the same spot and forgot that I already saw it, and I screenshotted it again. I'm really eyeballing this spot, so I start zipping around, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for other cities that might cause me trouble, and then I don't see anything. And with about 10 seconds left on the timer, I decide to teleport here and have that be my first spot. So I teleport right away, and I instantly start getting as many Cesaris as I can. I don't really distinguish between level 1 and level 2. Obviously level 2 is going to get you more EXP, but there's a scarcity issue at the beginning, so I just get whatever I can. So at this point you can see all my marches are taken up, but I'm constantly scanning the map so that as soon as a march returns, I can deploy it right away. So I unlocked the first 2 skills, and then that helps me start acquiring copper for killing the Cesares. At this point I noticed that people started attacking the mines, so you start utilizing that loot wagon and start gathering copper from that. As soon as you unlock the Occupy a Normal Vein skill, send a march to the closest mine that you can find. Check those little boxes so that the windows don't pop up anymore. that actually happens a few times where I'm trying to tap on the Cesare button, but somehow I tap the land and it makes me want to teleport, and that's not what I wanted. As soon as I tap on a mine and I start gathering, I'll hit that curved arrow to recall the march from the mine, because I'm really only getting the mine for the copper skill that gives you copper for occupying the mine every minute. So as soon as I tap that mine, I come back and then I find a new mine to occupy. So the mines around me have already been tapped and almost all the copper has been looted. And now you can see there's a scarcity issue with the Cesares. Other people are already marching towards them. So I'm not that happy with my location anymore. I finally unlocked the last skill. So I was considering looking for a new place to teleport, but because more Cesares had spawned, I decided to stick around a little bit longer. Because it can be a time drain to look for a new spot. But you can see here I'm kind of looking around already, because I used up all the mines already. So I'm going to go here because none of those mines have been tapped yet, so I can use my loot cart. I send one march to the mine and then the rest instantly to as many Cesares as I can. Recall from the mine, and then I'll send to the next one. When the fracture vein notification pops up like that, what that means is you've got less than a minute until the fracture veins are ready, and so I try to make sure that I only send my troops out on marches that are going to get me back to my city by the time the fracture vein arrives, so in less than a minute. That way, as soon as the fracture veins are ready, I can be the first one to deploy all my marches to the fracture veins, and then once they spawn, I focus only on the fracture veins. I actually do send one march out to a normal vein once per minute, because that skill does not apply to the fracture veins. It only applies to the normal veins. But I think I forgot to do that a few times in this gameplay, which is why I think I got second place. As soon as the fracture veins are ready, activate your copper hauler skill so that the first wave of dispatches that you send out are going to be harvesting faster, and that will help increase your copper accumulation rate. So I found these two fracture veins really close to my city, but I start getting impatient here because all my marches are occupied, and you can see somebody else started marching towards one of the ones that I had my eye on. I see a mine that's a little bit farther away than the other two, so I start marching towards that one first, I think, because march time is a huge time drain, and the sooner you get to the mine, the better, especially because if there's a stronger city near you, it only takes a few seconds to mine the fracture vein. So if you're at the fracture vein and you're already mining and then they start marching towards you, there's a high chance that you're going to be already departing the fracture vein by the time they get there. And so they're going to miss their chance to get any copper, and they're just going to waste a march. No, that's my mine. I saw it first. So I'm going for it anyway in the hopes that their march is farther away. And if I get there first, I can get most of the mining in before they even get there. So right now you can see that I can't really find any more fracture veins, so I'm switching back into hunting Cesare's mode. And I kind of forget for a little bit to go to a normal vein, but that's fine. In just a little bit, you'll see that there's a Cesare that I go towards that's like 40 seconds away. Oh, maybe that was it. Sorry, the screen is like so small. Once the Cesare marches get to 40 seconds or more, I start looking for a new place because that means there's too much competition and it might be worth your time to find a new place to spawn. So that's what I do here. I go for a mine and then I go for a bunch of Cesares again. I regret my choice a little bit because I saw a TG1 city just south of me, but I'm going to try to stick it out. And even though there's a few Cesares that I send to that are about 40 seconds out, I'm not too happy about that, but because there are so many untapped mines, I decide to try to thug it out and see if more Cesares spawn. I think by this point you can tell that the name of the game is having as little downtime as possible. So you're scanning the map and filling your queue up visually so that as soon as a march returns, you can instantly send it out to do something else. There's a little bit of downtime here where all my marches are being used up, and so I'm waiting, and so I go ahead and check where I am on the leaderboard. I'm in second place. Pretty good. I noticed that my marchers are getting to the 40-second range, and the mines around me have been exhausted, so I'm considering looking around for a better spot. Once the Stage 2 Fracture Vein banner appears, I think I decide to stay here because it's just too chaotic to try to find a good spot before a Fracture Vein appears. So I've decided to teleport over here because of all the fracture veins nearby, but I'm waiting for some of my marches to return first. I'm going for the older fracture veins first, and then the newer ones after that. I checked my place on the leaderboard again. I'm in 3rd place. But that's okay because you can see my copper count is going up by like 1,000 per second. So we're gonna catch up. Some of you might have noticed that at this point I had been so focused on the fracture veins that I didn't send any marches to normal veins during this time, and so I think that wound up hurting me a little bit in the end. So you can see somebody sent a march to the vein that was right next to me, but I went ahead and sent a march to it because I knew that I'd probably be done mining there by the time they even got there. So that would effectively make them waste a march. So right there you can see my cart is leaving and his cart just arrived at where the fracture vein used to be. So you snooze, you lose. I know this fracture vein's right by this other guy, but I'm waiting to see if he sends a march to it. And he doesn't, so I decide to go for it. Most of the fracture veins are gone, so I switch back into the other mode, mining and hunting Cesares. In the upper left corner, you can see there's like 2 icons. And when, right there, did you see a 3rd one pop up for a second? So that shows up when you haven't activated the Occupy Normal Veins skill. And so I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that icon was there until this gameplay. So that just goes to show that you don't really need it as long as you're constantly sending your troops out to normal vein once per minute. But that was a nice thing to learn, that if I haven't sent out a march to a normal vein, then that little icon will pop up to remind me that I have not utilized that skill in over a minute. So there's the icon in the upper left corner popping up again, and I think by this point I didn't even notice it. So I definitely plan to pay more attention to that upper corner in future Eternity's Reaches, and I think that if you're paying attention to that, then you could probably score closer to 500,000 because you're not missing like a single minute of copper potential. So we're just doing more of the same for the last 3 minutes of Eternity's Reach, but if you look at my score, it's pretty crazy how fast my copper accumulation rate goes up in these last 3 minutes. So never give up and just keep going at it, and you'll be surprised by how many points you can accumulate even in the last 3 minutes of the game. I really flub up at the end here because I thought I could like swipe up these last 3 Cesares, but then I put my city in a really bad spot. But even still, I managed to get 2nd place during this gameplay. So thanks for watching. I hope this helps all of you, and have fun.